Good evening, good evening, good evening. And happy Friday to everyone. We welcome to our conversation for our Friday sip and chat. Um, we have a very delicate conversation for you this evening, but before we dive in, Doc, how are you doing?
I'm okay. I mean, if you're friends with me on Facebook and you follow my posts, you know that I had a lot going on these past couple of weeks, from death in the family to a newborn baby. I know that brought a lot of joy to us. Our first granddaughter. We have two grandsons. This is our first baby girl, so that brought a lot of joy. And in the midst of all the tragedy. So that stuff, even the good things take a lot of energy out of
Absolutely.
you. So
Absolutely.
I'm like in the recovery mode while planning a funeral and trying to love on the grandkids.
right.
You
All of the
know,
grandkids.
yes, all of the grand. So it's you know, highs and lows.
Okay.
You just have to ride the waves.
All right. Well, you look beautiful and riding the waves.
Oh, thank you.
No problem, no problem. We missed you last week. Daryl
Yeah,
and
I wasn't up for it last week. Last week
no,
was
that was 30
whew.
minutes before going live. We good.
Yes,
So
yes.
Daryl and I rocked it out. Daryl, how are
I knew
you?
y'all would.
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good. You got that voice on tonight. We're doing good.
I'm just fantastic. I am just fantastic. I'm happy to be in the comfort of my own home.
I know that's right. I
Yep.
know that's right. And that's a blessing that sometimes people take for granted.
Yes. Hey,
Sometimes
Neil.
Luxury. It is a luxury.
it is a luxury. It is a luxury. Hey Neil, you know what? My bad. Wait, where am I at? I'm at the wrong place. Hey
Hey, Neil.
Neil. I'm sorry. We're not supposed to say Neil. Hey Ruth.
Oh,
Nice.
she nailed me as family. We
And
go way back, way back, way back,
way back.
way
Way
back.
back.
I will let her deal with you personally.
Yes, yes.
I don't even want no smoke. I talk to Ruth all week long. I don't want no smoke.
Mhm.
Mm-mm-mm.
So we thank you for joining us this evening. We do have a different type of topic going on this evening. And we are joined by a special guest, Miss Shakina Rush. But it is February, and February acknowledges teen dating awareness of violence prevention. Yes, teenagers experience domestic violence. And people are like, how is that even possible? Because they
Mhm.
also experience sexual assault. And so what we would like to do this evening is have a very delicate yet informative, organic conversation, but would like your input and your participation. But before we jump too far, let us get introduced. You're gonna get full screen advantage. Let's introduce Miss Shakina Rush and her company. She is you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mary. I am grateful for the opportunity to come on and present to you and your audience about teen dating violence and um, bringing awareness to this issue that has plagued our community for decades and centuries, actually. So
Mhm.
again, my name is Shakina Rush, and I am the founder and chief executive of She Is You Inc., which is a nonprofit organization that provides services and resources to individuals who are dealing with or may that's an overcomer of domestic violence, sex abuse, and sexual assault. We mainly focus on our target audience is um, preteens and young adults. Um, like I have a soft spot for preteens and young adults, but all ages, of course, and gender and nationalities, regardless of religious beliefs or um, ethnicity. So we we are here to serve the community. We like to provide services in sexual education, mental health support. Uh, we like to provide services in transitional housing. Um, we like to provide services that support the self-esteem of an individual, and just whatever we can do to help that individual to live a more productive, healthier lifestyle.
Oh shoot.
Big screen on you now.
Mm,
Listen, I'm sorry. Forgive the technical difficulties.
mm.
um, so you said a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and you
It's
said
fine.
it again, Doc.
No, I was going to say it's when you first talked about bringing her on, and we said teens, but she said preteens as well. And
Mm-hmm.
it's really heartbreaking to think that 10, 11, 12 year olds
Hmm.
are going through these things.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I know because Daryl and I work in the area of child protection, so we've seen it. We've
Hmm.
seen it, but it's really heartbreaking when you think of these young people going
Mm-hmm.
through this, and a lot of times they don't have anywhere to turn. So it's great that you're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Thank you so much. And the reason why I am doing what I'm doing, and we like to focus on preteens and teens, is because my initial experience with domestic violence started at the age of 12, 13.
Mm,
And that was the age where I became sexually active.
mm,
So a lot of it is, how soon um, that young person is becoming sexually active, how young, because that's when like everything opens up. Like that's when your hormones are really going crazy, your mind is not fully, your brain is not fully developed, your body
mhm,
is not fully
mhm,
developed,
mhm,
and you're going through a lot of changes, and you really don't know how to express your emotions, especially if you are dealing with another form of abuse. So for me, I was a victim of sex abuse from the time I was, a baby up until I was about 9 years old.
mm,
So that right there, it opened me up to become a victim, or yeah, a prey to other
mhm,
abusers.
mhm,
So I just really, I, fortunately, by the grace of God, I was able to walk away with my life out of an abusive relationship that I was in up until I was about 28, 29 years old. And like I said, it started at the age of 12, 13.
mhm,
So I barely made it out. Um,
mhm,
and I remember when I was in it, when I was going through it, and I was getting tired of, feeling the way that I was feeling. Um, I remember thinking of a place to go, not to the police per se, because who really wants to get the law involved, at that point when you're in, a relationship like that.
mhm,
Really don't want to get the law involved. You really don't want to get your family involved. You want to try to figure out every way possible to work it out on your own.
mhm,
And I remember thinking and feeling like, well, dang, like, is this somewhere that I can go that, me and this individual can go together? Like I've never been married, so it wasn't like we could go, go to marriage counseling or anything.
mhm,
And it wasn't presented to me, at the doctor's office or anything like that.
mhm,
At from my school counselor, or at my place of worship. None of these options or resources were presented to me while I was going through what I was going through. Like, I mean, I did hear of a PFA, and I did hear, oh, call the police. Oh, well, just leave them and this and that. But it's never that easy when you're in a situation, especially when you're already dealing with self worth and self esteem
mhm,
issues.
Mhm.
So,
Okay, so can I pause you for a second? Only because you have shared a lot of nuggets so far,
um,
and I definitely expected that, but I appreciate your vulnerability, to just
Mhm.
really openly have this conversation. But I just want to highlight a couple things before you continue in your why.
mhm.
Um, Highlight that as early for you in your journey at 12. Um, Also that it persisted until you were 29.
Yeah, until I was about 29.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's a
Different
large span of
relationships.
life. You
I'm
said different relationships.
different relationships.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
So that's important to point out that it wasn't one
Mhm.
No.
continual it wasn't one continual situation, but it was a continual because you're the common denominator.
Mhm.
And then you mentioned a lot of places that people identify as being safe spaces,
Mhm.
that in this situation you didn't find resource or safety at school with the school counselor.
Mhm.
The word counselor, you assume things and responsibility.
Right.
You mentioned your place of worship was not safe, because sometimes it's kind of dismissed, in those situations. And
Mhm.
then, I mean, we're gonna get to probably a little bit later in the
The doctor's
conversation,
office,
right, and then the
The
doctor's
doctor's
office,
office.
right,
Mhm. And
was,
even your family.
and your family,
family.
Mhm.
right,
Mhm.
right.
Mhm.
So the thing is that it could be happening under, like, in people's face,
Mhm.
and they not really realize, or they're getting a secondary gain, or it's like, okay, one less person to be responsible for because they're, air quotes, taken care of from the outside, but not thinking
Mhm.
about, for a 12-year-old or a 15-year-old, how are they really being nurtured and prepared for
Right.
stuff moving forward.
What I hear a lot, in talking to some parents who don't understand child development,
Mhm.
and what I hear from them, oh, he or she is too fresh, he or she is too grown, so
Yep.
they're out there doing things. I can't control them. They just too grown, so they
Mm-hmm.
getting what
Yep.
they putting themselves in these situations.
Oh man, wow. I remember, when this was when I had a I was a teen parent. I had my daughter when I was 15, turning 16.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, going through, the abuse with her father. And I remember his mother. I was at his house, because I have a baby now, and now I'm like responsible for myself, and and I'm responsible for another human being. So now I'm making adult decisions, and I don't, I'm really responsible for myself. So I remember but I'm still a child
Mhm.
with a child.
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
remember his mother calling my mother and telling her, he's fighting your daughter.
Mm.
Is you should come get your daughter. And she said to her, if that's what she's allowing him to do, then that's on her.
Mm.
This is what your mother said.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
I
That's
just wanted to be clear, like,
mhm.
Mm.
okay.
Yeah, my mother. If she's accepting and allowing that to happen to her,
Mm.
then it's nothing I can do.
Mhm.
And with people, and that's one of the biggest issues.
Mhm.
We always look at the abused or the victim, and we always blame them.
Mhm.
But the reason why I was accepting it and allowing it is because it was just a symptom of a bigger issue that
Mhm.
was never addressed.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And I became addicted to
Mhm.
the pain that it caused, that it
Mhm.
brought upon, like, because that's how I associated love and affection.
Mhm.
Was
Mhm.
associated to hurt and pain,
Mm-hmm.
because the one that was supposed to love me hurt me and
Mm-hmm.
brought about pain. So at once that happened, I didn't know what a good feeling was.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
My good feeling was hurt. Like my sense of love was abuse.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
let's kind of really make that simple. You
Mm-hmm.
said my self-love, I was addicted to the pain.
mhm,
Um like those statements that you said,
right.
it can
Mm-hmm.
easily be glossed
My
over.
idea, love, was this is what it looks like when someone loves me.
Yep.
Correct.
She was conditioned. Her conditioning led her to
I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
believe this is the
I
way.
was conditioned. I was conditioned from
Mm-hmm.
my abuse. I was conditioned from my community, other
Mm-hmm.
women in my family, my friends. Oh, my friends were experiencing the same thing. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it was like
Mm.
it was a norm. It was
Uh-huh.
something
Right,
that
right.
um, everyone went through, and if you didn't go through it, your relationship was not serious.
Right.
That
Mm-hmm.
person did not care about
Mm-hmm.
They
you.
must be
That
cheating.
person that person did not love you.
Mm-hmm.
If that person was not knocking you upside your head or choking you up in a corner somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
care nothing
They don't
about.
care about you.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right.
And he's only doing all of that because he loves you so much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's a problem because it's almost a community problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's something that was passed down.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of education that needs to have to be done to reset this way of thinking, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
I also believe the education has to start a lot earlier, than I'm talking about 5, 6. I
Yeah.
know we don't want to think about our kids in this way. We don't want to think about them dealing with these things. But I think if we educate them earlier, give them the tools, then maybe they'll speak up or maybe they'll know the situation is not okay. And you also have to educate these parents, like her mom saying, hey, if she's going to allow this to happen, then I can't do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
That frame of thought was a real frame of thought for her mom. Her mom really believed that was like what I'm gonna do if
That
she
she
gonna
was
go right back.
powerless.
She's
Mm-hmm.
gonna go right back anyway. You see it happen 1,000 times. You get them away and they run right back.
Right.
So and her experience is like this is what it is, and that's that community way of thinking where this is life. This is what we deal with. You deal with it
Mm-hmm.
when we have
So
to
as a
break that.
parent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Parent, as a parent myself, right? We teach our kids like indirectly on what is accepted, what's allowed.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah, modeling.
right?
Yes.
And like at that point of time, like I didn't feel somewhat threatened by allowing this person to do this to me. Like I didn't feel like I was really being held accountable or, empowered to think otherwise or
Mm-hmm.
to,
Mm-hmm.
or to accept otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't like a standard that was like, laid out. Like this is not what you do. This is not what a man is supposed to do. This is not what I am accepting or allowing for my child, my daughter. You know, but like I said, I had a baby young, so by this time, like it's like, oh well, you grown now, like you know what I mean. You gonna do what you want to do. I can't tell you what to do now. Like you have a baby and this and that, but um,
Well, it's difficult to parent any different than what you know sometimes, right? If you
exactly.
don't know
Right.
any better, then you're doing what you believe to be true. A lot of these parents believe this is what should be done. It was done to me. To me, I'm fine. I'm grown. I'm good. I got through it. So
Yeah.
it once you start learning different things, and then maybe you can change it for your child,
Right.
But it takes learning and maybe getting away from that situation to learn because, like I said, it's that crab in the barrel. We only know what we know. This is
Mm-hmm.
what everybody, like I said, everybody's experiencing this. Everybody's going through this. This is common, right?
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you can't see when you're in it. Looking
Mm-hmm.
back, you can see like, wow, that was how did they let that happen? But they didn't know they were in it.
And
And
see,
it makes me think about the situations that like the other side of the situation that, and I don't know this to be your mom's story, but there have been moms that I've worked with that they had multiple children, and if you felt responsible enough or grown enough, how we would say it in our living room, um to live outside of the house, you were one less individual that I had to hustle and grind to prepare for. And whether
Mm-hmm.
you were safe or not, you knew that you can come home, but I couldn't go and reach back out to get you because I just couldn't for whatever reason. It's a broken mindset, as Daryl, you just
It is.
described it being like a community concern, but
Mm-hmm.
it is a mindset that you encounter when you're out here in these community-based streets trying to provide services. Because as you were speaking, it made me recall a mom who said those same very things to
Mhm.
me as the therapist in the school trying to provide
Mm-hmm.
support. And when she arrived to the school, because she was responsible to come to the school, she punched the daughter in front of my face.
Mm.
And I was like, well, wait a minute. Is this what happens at home?
That is,
Mm.
there you
Oh,
go.
it's worse.
So
It got to be worse at home. This
It
is
got
Yeah,
to
like
be worse
mild
at home
yeah,
versus.
because you
This
walked
is
into the
mild.
school conference room
right,
Right.
right.
and you knew
If
while
you
we were calling, and now you're embarrassed. You don't care. You just went and just like punched the girl. I'm like, I wanted to pack the girl up and bring her home since I'm a mother in a village. I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
like pack her up and bring her home. But so I think about that other side of the conversation as well. It's easy
Mm-hmm.
to like victim shame or identify it in just the abandonment aspect of it, but it's also some other survival things that happen too.
Mm-hmm.
we as a community, especially within the African American community,
Mhm.
we really have to unlearn abusive tactics and behaviors as
Mm-hmm.
was.
Mm-hmm.
Spare the rod, spoil the child.
Right.
We teach our children, when we discipline them, how to accept abuse.
Mhm.
Mm.
And let me tell you, let me just make this clear. I have one of the best mothers in the world. I'm
Mhm.
telling you, my mother, she will do anything for me. She worked
right.
30 years.
Mm-hmm.
She provided. She didn't have a bunch of men coming in and out of our home. I have a great mother, but let me tell you, when you discipline your children and you hit them with shoes, belts, brushes, whatever, it has an emotional and mental and psychological impact
Mhm.
that we can't even begin to unfold. Okay,
Mhm.
Mm.
you teach you devalue your child's self-worth
Mhm.
when you whoop them in the corner. And I get, like, well, if I don't do it here, something that is going to happen out there, and this and that. So
Mhm.
I'd rather, discipline my child before anybody. But there are other ways. There are more effective ways. So after we beat our child, and we tell them, and,
Do you have feedback?
Just lost your
Yeah, your
voice.
voice. We
Yeah,
can't hear
we
you.
can't hear you.
oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
We
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And since we had an interrupted pattern, are you expecting someone else to join the conversation?
no,
Okay, so I'm gonna take that's a spammer. Go ahead.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when we discipline our child and we beat them in a corner and we tell them, I told you not to go outside, and then we call them down for dinner. You guys hear?
No, it's some
You
kind of
keep going
feedback
out.
that's happening. You keep
Yeah.
going out.
Is that me?
Well, I might
Sometimes that happens if you're getting a call or something
exactly.
coming through while you're doing it,
No,
unless you're on the computer.
I have on do not disturb.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is when we discipline our child and we call them down for dinner, or we take them out to the mall, buy them something or something like that,
Mhm.
we are conditioning them.
And reinforcing.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
the adopted slave tactics that we
Exactly.
we internalize, and we think this is the way to do things. And also, I think a lot of our practices are a way to get out our frustrations where we were angry and things of that nature, and we would come and displace that anger. We couldn't do it in the workplace because we had no control. So we came home, we did it to the wife did it to the kids. It was a big cycle. And then that became a generational thing, and it was passed down. And as we know better, we do better, because, at a certain point, we think that's okay. Like I said, your friends get beat, everybody get beat. And that's just what it is. You beat the kid up and you try to save him. But as you hopefully get away from that environment, you'll see things differently. And it's funny. I know I talk to people all the time, and they're like, I don't need no book to teach me how to raise my kids. Well, it might help to learn some different strategies, some different techniques to, because like I said, hitting just teaches the child to hit when someone doesn't do what they want them to do. We did a show on it. I think it was me and Doc. We did that show. And you're right. There has to be different strategies to use. But again, we have to start educating our population. Our ways of thoughts are so antiquated that a lot of, sometimes we just repeating the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again. It's not getting, and I think that's why things are not getting any better.
Well, because it's safety in the unknowing. It's safety in doing what even our TV shows celebrate, like, just being aggressive, cursing somebody out, throwing. I'm good for using an example, throwing a table across the room. I use that in every professional development, violence prevention, but it makes a point. Like people like the drama of things that are not safe.
And sometimes it's hard to go against the grain,
Right.
How often are people shamed because they don't beat their kid? The first time their kid does something wrong, they're like, yeah, you should have beat him. But, they're, that's why they act like that, because you never beat them.
Right.
So it's difficult to go against the grain.
It is.
Or, you know what you know. It might not be going against the grain. You know what you know. You may not know anything else. This is what was done. This is what my mom did, my grandmom did. This is what they did, and this is all we know. It's not even anything else that you know. Sometimes I'm like, now I'm looking back. I look at it and I'm like, sometimes this is all they know. This was passed down from person to person to person. They've seen it happen to them, and they're like, and you figure I'm okay, right? I'm good, so I'm going to keep doing that, right? So sometimes I believe they just think this is just what it is. It's not that they don't. They're going, all some people know.
I agree with that, but I'm talking about the ones who are trying to do something different.
You break the legacy of abuse.
Yes.
Right.
The legacy and loyalty of perpetuating the abuse continuing.
You go to a family function and your kid is the only one there that's not getting beatings, and they do something wrong. Everybody's like,
the whole village.
Yes. The whole village is talking about why you should be.
That's why I moved out the village. I just come back to visit for these little functions, but I'm gonna stop doing too.
Let me say, Shakina.
Let me tell you guys my experience. I remember my daughter, she got in trouble at school or something like that, and I beat her. And after I beat her, I left her upstairs crying and all of that. And I heard her say, "Oh, I just hate myself." And at that moment, I was so, my heart just dropped. And I went upstairs. I was like, "What are you talking about? Like, get up. Like, what you mean you hate yourself? Don't say that." That's how I made her feel when I disciplined her, and she just was vocal about it. And, we tell ourselves how to think, how we should feel about ourselves. We speak to ourselves, and we might not say it out loud, but we are talking to ourselves. And whenever we talk to ourselves, we believe whatever we're saying to ourselves. And
I'm beautiful. I just want to put that out there.
Thank you.
Good morning, gorgeous.
One one thing I learned as I matured as a parent, you know, as a person, that all you need is love. And I mean, like, true love. It's in the Bible, and I'm a believer, and I'm not trying to project my beliefs on anyone else, but love covers a multitude of sins.
Mhm.
Love covers, like not love as far as, oh, putting clothes in your bag or putting on the table, not that type of love, but the love that starts from within oneself. You know,
Mm.
like, we project our notions of love, self-love, onto,
Mhm.
you know, other people around us. But
Mhm.
when we really come into what love is, that's all they need. When you really show your child, like, I really love you so much,
Mhm.
and they feel it, and
Mhm.
you really communicate that to them really effectively,
Mhm.
Mhm.
that is enough. Love
Mhm.
them through it. Like,
Mhm.
love them through it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
see that with Daryl and his daughter.
We
She loved
do.
her
Oh yeah,
daddy.
unapologetically, we
Yes.
see that. Yes,
Oh,
he's
wow.
been hiding from behind the bushes, and he at events he not supposed to be at because they say parents don't come. He's still present, and she
Right.
spots him out. You know, of course, because that's her father, not her
Right.
daddy. That's her father.
And that all came from education, right?
Mhm.
There you go.
Educating myself, educating like on how to what it is to parent, right?
Mhm.
What it needs to look like, trying to find out what works, what doesn't work. You know, it can't because if I just did what I knew, it would look a lot different. But I,
Mhm.
like you said, I remember how that made me feel,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
I said, there's no way I could ever raise my hand to this thing that I brought in the world that I love so much. So there got to be a different way, right? It was just,
Mhm.
I think, you know, it definitely that saying it hurts me more than it hurts you. It would definitely hurt me a lot more than
Mhm.
it hurt her. And I don't like hurting myself, so I ain't gonna do it. But
There you
so
go.
you find other ways. You find some other ways. You look into things, and if you really want to, like anything you do, you research it. Anything you want to do to be great at, you want to be great at your job. You find out, you research it, you do whatever. So with my child, I want to be the best, the best thing way I could be. So I took every class, I watched everything I could, and then I came up with different things. And you know, I tried some things work, some things don't. Um, but at the end of the day, like you said, if you're genuine and you try your best, your child will see that, and
Mhm.
they will reflect that in their own actions,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So because your children are a reflection of you, right? So if
Mhm.
you're out here being wild and crazy, doing wild and crazy things, they're gonna be out here doing wild and crazy things, and they're gonna be one of them teens that are being wild and crazy with another person, right? So that starts
Right,
from you. So what that
and they're
kid is
gonna keep
doing is
repeating.
them, and it
Mhm.
repeats.
Mhm.
We have to, like you said, like, hurting them is hurting you. So if you yourself, you're hurting yourself, like, just throughout your decision making, like your, like, interactions, all of that stuff. If you are already hurting yourself, you're already walking around with a ball of pain and anger and
Mhm.
distrust and all of that. I mean,
Mhm.
it's going to come out. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I mean, you're not going to be able to feel like that internal love, like I was saying, for yourself, because who really loved them, a person that really truly loved themselves will never do anything to hurt themselves, period.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, you bump into, like, somebody hurt you, they put a mark on you, and you really love yourself, you're going to be devastated.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know what I mean?
And that mark is going to remind you of that moment every single time that you look at that mark.
Mhm.
But
And even when that mark goes away, that
You
moment is still there.
The mark is in
Mhm.
your head
but
because
Right.
trauma is set
Right.
at the early, we say this often in certain conversations. Trauma is set and developed from the ages of 12 to 15, 12 to 16, something like that.
Mhm.
it's
And whatever experiences that you have shape everything that you do moving forward.
Mhm.
but see, if you're already blinded by just, just stress and trauma,
Mhm.
you can't see. You can't see, the damage. Because I never forget, you know, um, my boyfriend at the time, he was upset that I went out or whatever, that I did not listen. And he fought on me, right? And I didn't try to defend myself. I just, accepted it because I'm like, oh well, I went out, like, just let me just take this butt whooping, like I'll be cool, like whatever, you know. And I remember like going out the house, not looking at myself. I remember going out the house, and I went out the house and I went to meet my mother and my sister. And they looked at me and they was like, what happened to your face? And I was like, what? So mind you, during the time of the when the actions were taking place, my face was being slapped, right? So mind you, I never took the time to look in the mirror at myself. It didn't, like, my face being slapped, it didn't matter. Like I was numb to it. But when I went outside and someone else seen it and I had bruises all over my face, and it was like, what happened to your face? And I went in the house and I looked in the mirror and I was like, I was just so oblivious to what I was accepting, what I was dealing with. I just got up, went on about my life, like whatever, I didn't, bother to, do anything because I'm like, I'm cool. I ain't a busted lip or anything, but I had handprints over my face. And I went back in the house. Of course, I laid back in the bed with him. I looked in the mirror and was like, oh my God, like, oh, well, it'll go away. Not like.
We can't hear you.
I don't know why. I can hear the static. I don't know why. But what didn't you guys hear? What was the last thing I heard?
Oh God, Doc, do you know what the last thing was?
Yes, the last thing I heard was you said you went back in the house and you got back in the bed with him, and you didn't even think about it. You thought that it'll go away.
Right. Now she heard me. Good.
I was over here troubleshooting, so I didn't know where I stopped versus when you actually stopped.
Guess what? I didn't feel the pain, and I did not connect to the side effects or anything like that until I started loving myself. And when I started loving myself, and his last attempt to gain control over me was throwing a chair on me. And when he threw the chair on me, I felt every bit of that. Okay. And I said, oh, hell no, you ain't gonna kill me. But that's what he been doing. It wasn't nothing different. It was just the fact that I decided to love myself. That's what changed.
You gotta be sick and tired of being sick and tired.
I mean, that's what changed. That's what gave me the strength to make the decision. Like, it wasn't like, what's the difference from a chair, from a fist to a slap? What's the difference?
Or the words that they were saying, or the things that they restricted you from, told you to have permission to go out or eat or buy. Like, it looked so many different ways.
And then the control, because you lived with him as well, right? I
did.
With the child, so sometimes, like, where else I'm gonna go? That's another reason people say these type of things.
Well, I mean, here, my daughter, she witnessed a lot of it.
Wow.
It caused a lot of division. It caused a lot of loss of respect and trust. Because it's like, ew, mommy, like, why are you, like, I love you so much, and she felt all the pain that I didn't.
Right.
Yeah, and a lot of times people think that children aren't affected by this, especially very young children. Yeah.
Oh
And,
yeah,
that's a problem. People really
That
do
is a
believe that.
problem. Yes.
And it's
And,
Because
really real.
and,
kids
and that is
as young as toddlers,
right.
they can be affected by seeing domestic violence.
Mhm.
Can be, they are affected. Let's
They
talk
are.
about it, right?
I
Because
shouldn't
they're,
have said can.
yeah,
You're right,
this
Daryl.
is
They are
right.
affected.
This is their base. This is what they're learning a
Mhm,
relationship should
mhm,
look like. This they're learning how a
Mhm.
man should act, how a woman should act by seeing
mhm,
that. And the longer they see
mhm,
that, the more they become that because this is normal. This is what I see
Mhm.
in my home. This is what
mhm,
modeled to me. This is what a relationship looks like. And
mhm,
ergo,
mhm.
we have the problems down the line.
And for some of the kids, they 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 learn how to like protect themselves and kind of be numb to it the same way you talked about you being numb to it, Shakina. Sometimes the kids find ways to numb out.
yeah,
During this, it's like, all right, mommy and daddy fighting again,
right,
Mhm.
mommy and mommy fighting
exactly,
again.
Mhm.
Right.
They get they kind of numb out as well.
Mhm.
right.
Just because they're not in the room when it's happening
Mhm.
doesn't mean that they don't feel the need to feel safe and protected when it's going on.
Well,
You
they,
know?
but not only that, they become, they become it stirs up anger in them,
Mm-hmm.
resentment, and
Mm-hmm.
they oftentimes they say, I wish a nigga would, or I wish, I would. That'll never be me. Like,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
and and they become very defensive, and they have like this, this fight in them that is just like, you know,
Right.
Or
So
they develop
they
they can
feel that they feel like it's not going to happen to me, so they will strike first. You see
right.
that happen
Mm-hmm.
sometimes where they become the aggressor. So before you do something to me, I'm gonna do something to you, right?
yeah,
So you see that a lot where I see a lot where you see some we'll say a woman will now she'll be fighting the man first because you're not going to get me, right? I'm not that one, or
not
vice versa, man
And
or
then if
man
we
or chick.
also go into the weeds,
Right.
if we are going real deep into the weeds, and I know Shakina that your organization does this because I know what I know. Hashtag ask me how I know. Um,
How do you know?
sexual. I am a collaborative partner with She Is You.
Look
that.
at this. Look at this.
Um, um, sometimes when the child is being impacted with everything that you all just described, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sexual assault can also be happening with the children.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So while
Absolutely.
you, huh?
No,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying I know all of us on this panel know because of the work we do. But those in the living room listening to us live and on the replay may think that it's only what people see, not necessarily what people feel. And then
Mm-hmm.
the impact is once whoever the batterer is, because it's not a gender assigned to who the batterer actually
Mm-hmm.
is.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
When the children are drawn in, the children are drawn in with this power dynamic that could be sexual, could also add into sexual assault or doing sexual favors for whomever the abuser is.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And real adult sexual favors,
Mm-hmm.
not just
Mhm.
receiving,
Yeah.
they're also
Yeah.
giving.
Yeah,
And
because
that is why for when people who are working with children in these kind of arenas, it's important to ask those questions about being exposed to domestic violence,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're a person that's diagnosing,
Mm-hmm.
because if they are aggressive or uh, have depression or anxiety or have signs of PTSD, and you don't acknowledge that they've been exposed to domestic violence, you could definitely misdiagnose them.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking of a, a anecdotal case, Daryl.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
I'm
you.
going to say that it's anecdotal, where
Oh my goodness. That must have been
one
y'all
one
team meeting this.
story one story of a kid who was having difficulty with anxiety and some PTSD symptoms, but didn't have no abuse of their own, and they couldn't figure out, and because the child was so young and couldn't tell them what was going on, they couldn't figure out why this child would go into the corner if in the foster home they were listening watching Jeopardy. The child would go in the corner and cry, but come to find out the family that they were removed from, the father would beat the mom up during Jeopardy.
Mm.
So listen,
So that was around the time that he would come home from work, and if he in a bad mood, he'd beat mama. And this kid was a toddler at the time, and that was their way of protecting themselves. Get away, get into the corner.
Wow.
You know, so we definitely have to ask those questions when you see these symptoms in children.
And even go ahead, Shakina.
I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
Okay, so let me say this. So
that's something else that's abusive. We're gonna talk about that one time. Okay. Black women saying that they sorry. We're gonna have to stop.
Excuse me.
Girl, we're gonna have to add that.
Excuse me.
I apologize.
That was a problem.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
When you learn it from these type situations, then you do it in your professional situations. You do it in relationships. It's a giving up power to someone else.
Well, let me tell you.
You're sorry for.
If I cut you off inadvertently, not on purpose,
excuse me.
My fault.
My sorry, Mary, you know, sorry is not that
sorry.
I know, but because again, the living room. I'm sorry.
It gets deep sometimes.
I'm very assertive.
I'm trying to listen. Let me just.
Can't even say sorry no more. Things are different. I don't know.
No, listen.
There's a sip and chat, right? Let me
share this. So, like I mentioned to you guys earlier, I was sexually abused from the time I was a young baby up until I was 9 years old, and my mother found the story in my diary. Right now, during that time, I had a real behavior problem. I was I've always listen. I threw temper tantrums, got into fights all the time. I was just disruptive, just destructive. Like, and I didn't care who I was attacking, whatever. Right. So when I was dealing with all of that, they always had me in the counselor's office, and I remember they would ask me, "Are you okay? You know, what's wrong? You're so strong." They would always say, "You're so strong. You're very strong." And I didn't understand nothing that they were saying, and I didn't know what was going on. You know what I mean? All I knew was I was acting out because of the pain that I was feeling from what I was going through, from feeling like I if I move, if I tell, I'm gonna get in trouble. Daddy's going to get in trouble. I don't want my daddy to get in trouble. I don't want my daddy to get in trouble. I don't want to get in trouble. So I'm just going. I remember just feeling like just stuck. I remember feeling frozen, afraid to move, and it was just like, you know, this was something that my dad just did,
right?
You know, and nobody knew why I was experiencing these. I was having these temper tantrums, and everybody just was like, "Oh, she's crazy. She's crazy. She's spoiled. She's crazy. Oh, she's just angry." I mean, all these labels were put on me. You know, I was put into the disruptive class, the lower level students. You know, I was labeled as, you know, like a disciplinary. All throughout grade school, all the way up to middle school.
Yeah, and people say, "Oh, she has ADHD. She has OD disorder," without asking any of those questions about what's going on at home.
Especially when it comes to melanated people, right?
Yeah, it's just automatic.
Think there's something wrong and we have these issues, and it can't be anything else. It's just the way we are. So they quick to label us without doing any type of diagnostic background or anything to really evaluate to see what's going on with their child.
And it's a manifestation for others and not a manifestation for melanated.
I cannot remember anyone ever asking me, "Did somebody touch your private? Somebody touch your private part?" You know, I can't. No one never asked me that. They always just assumed that I was hyperactive.
Mhm.
Oh, I had asthma.
Um,
They blamed it on the asthma medication.
uh-huh, uh-huh. Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yep,
It was
yep,
never,
So
ever, ever until
yep.
I got into high school, and I just, from me kind of holding it in, and just kind of, I dealt with depression. I got into high school, and I told my high school counselor, and she said to me, "Your mother," because I told my mother, and she didn't believe me. So I was
Mhm,
studying as a kid.
Mhm.
mhm,
So it was like I did something wrong.
Mhm.
I am a problem. I am the problem child.
yeah, it's tough.
I
Believe your kids, people. Believe your kids.
I'm
My
making
daughter
Believe
a
tell
your
me
choice.
kid.
she
yes.
see it. She seen an alien. Well, we're gonna go find that alien because I'm
Mhm,
believing my
And
daughter.
you
mhm,
too fresh, too grown.
mhm,
Mhm, mhm,
You
mhm.
mhm,
you did something. You did this.
mhm,
Okay, so with the you did this, right? Let's,
mhm,
let's take a little shift.
mhm.
Just take a little shift. What exactly is teen dating violence?
So teen dating violence is intimate partner violence.
Mhm.
Very, very common. You know,
Mhm.
first I have my stats here. So I'm gonna just share some stats with you guys, okay?
Okay.
Well, real fast. What is it? Is it it's physical violence, sexual violence, psychological aggression, and stalking? Correct.
It's Yes, it's in person, it's either online.
Yeah, cyber.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm,
Right.
mhm,
Um,
Right.
so it could be physical, it can be emotional, you know,
Mm-hmm.
verbal,
mhm,
and
mhm,
also that cyberly.
Mm-hmm.
mhm,
Mm-hmm.
And sexual and intimidation.
Right,
Right.
mhm.
Right.
right, right,
Right.
right.
Right. Right.
And don't, like Daryl said, don't forget the stalking.
Don't
Right.
forget the stalking.
The
Mhm,
stalking, right?
And stalking for teens have a different element as well that people often overlook.
mhm,
That the intimidation and stalking can come from if you're dealing with the head guy, like the head jock, and you wearing the jacket or not wearing the jacket. It's like they own you, and you
mhm.
have to
But that's
be property and stuff like that.
So
It
you
is a
can't wear
taught
my
skill.
varsity jacket no more.
I
but it's
can't, Daryl. I can't
No,
wear it to the game no more
you can't
because
wear
it,
it. Okay.
no. I know
so
you said it mean that we in a couple and like it's together, but the
So
underlying
well,
message
no,
is
let's also wait time out. I don't think there's necessarily wrong with anything wearing if you want to wear someone's jacket, but
Mhm.
it's what's behind it. Like you better
Correct.
wear it because they
you
need to know
represent
who you
it.
belong to, right?
I,
Mhm,
My property.
If right if that's the energy that comes with it, it becomes a problem. So I don't want to
Yeah.
say just because someone you're wearing a jacket that means something, right? We sometimes we have to say these things, right?
We do, we do, we
we
do.
do.
It's the intent behind it. Like if you
It's,
don't wear it and he go up top, then there's a problem, right? You need to make sure that's done just because you want to do it. Like you want to wear a jacket, okay?
but it can
Mhm.
sometimes, and we talking about teenagers, but if you don't wear the wedding ring or the engagement ring, oh,
Right.
can
But
I
why
say,
are you not wearing the wedding ring?
why you not?
Okay,
What's
another
going on?
topic. Another
I know,
topic.
another topic for another week. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, Shakina. We
so
digress.
we have to teach our young women, that there's more to life than having a man,
Mm,
more to life than a man loving you.
mm,
Your life cannot be centered or directed or surrounded by around a man loving you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We all want to be loved. And
Mm-hmm.
us women, we all want to be loved by a man. That
don't I was gonna say, don't
okay.
forget too, the
Same sex.
same
Same sex.
sex
Yes.
Well,
I was gonna
relationships
say
as
we keep
well.
well, that's what I mean by we all want to be loved.
by
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
whoever it is. We yeah.
Yeah, we
yes.
all want to be loved at whatever expense, like whatever it costs. If it means me loving myself more, if it means me allowing laying down on the floor and allowing you to put your feet on me and walk over me and stand on top of me to make you feel 10 times 10 feet tall, or to make you feel bigger, then that's what I'll do. Because if this is what I have to do for you to love me, then then so be it. Because
Mhm.
because I don't love me.
Mhm.
The world
And
does not love me. So I need you to love me.
Mhm.
And if I have to invite another woman in our bedroom, or if I have to do a sexual favor for your friends or whatever for you to love me, then okay, long as you loving me, giving me your attention, then let's do that.
So,
Mhm.
Daryl, what's going to be your qualifying statement for the other woman?
Right.
Because
Yes.
she tastes this
well,
win.
I'm saying if you want
That's
another woman
another
and y'all
show
both
for
cool
another
with
day.
it, if y'all both cool with it, it's all right. All right, don't do it for the other person. But no, I was saying, and we have to teach our men as well that that's not love, right? That we
Mhm.
can't do those things, and control is not love, because men a lot of times believe control is love. Like if she's not
Mhm.
doing what I say, she don't love me, right? So men
Mhm.
have the same. We have to train. we have to change. We got to change the
Don't
way
say
of.
what. Don't say what.
We already know that he gonna come with a wild card with the fact that
Oh,
the other woman, when you
Bring
said
another woman in the bed.
bring another woman in the room,
I
we saw
mean,
his reaction. You might not have saw it because you was in your
right.
zone. And I think Facebook user is Net. Net, is that you?
Yes. Yeah, I think it is. But we
Okay.
got to train. We have to train our also have our men change the way they think too. Because if
Mhm.
the women are the only person who change and they try to have their self love, if the men don't change, it's still the same thing. You're still going to meet this guy who feels that he has to control you, that you need to do what he said, that you have to wear his jacket, because that's kind of what it's taught. So we
but
have to
that's
Mhm.
retrain the men as well.
self-esteem.
Mhm.
That's what he
Mhm.
taught that his self-esteem is based on.
Mhm.
How well and how much he controls a woman in the bedroom, or how
Mhm.
But
or
just in
how
general, yes, right.
whoever's in control in the bedroom is the winner. Is
In
Well,
community standards
remember,
size.
sometimes it's not even the bedroom, because out in public you want her to represent you a certain way. So really, it's more you want people to see how she's acting, right? Look at the ground. Don't look at no other man when I'm around. You ain't supposed to be looking at you look in his eyes is a problem. You walk with your head down. These things are because men think control, especially at a younger age, we don't really know what it is. You want to control someone, so
but
we
see,
have to
control is
retrain that brain.
instinctual. It's instinctual. It's an energy. It's a force, and that force is fed by abandonment and insecurity and rejection.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Or it's fed by being what you saw, what your dad did, or the man in the street did, or
It's
what you see
that
on TV did,
Or,
right? So
or
we're
housewives
emulating,
of
right?
whoever.
We're
Mhm.
emulating what we see. Remember, modeling is a real form of how we get to who we are. So as a child, we see
Mhm.
somebody we respect, and we see them acting in such a way, we're
Mhm.
going to act that way, because that's how my dad acts. That's how this cool guy acts. You see this reality TV. That's what he did on the TV show. So
Mhm.
now we're emulating what we see. We have no great forms of relationships. So now these relationships are very perverted, because we just think that this is how it's supposed to be. We're supposed to do this. And again, so same thing. So men have to change their way of thinking as well. It has to be collaborative. If the women can change, that's fine. But if the men are not changing as well, then who are they going to date?
So in my world of belief and faith, we call it spirits, right? But in the world, you might say energy, right?
Mhm.
So energy is transferable. Energy is adapted, adopted. I'm sorry. Please.
Mhm.
That's okay.
Energy, your energy is adapted. So if your daddy has insecurity issues, your uncle has insecurity issues, your brother has insecurity issues, 9 times out of 10 you're going to adapt those same type of characteristics and qualities. And let me tell you, two healthy individuals, two secure individuals cannot be in an abusive, toxic relationship. It takes two to be, and hear me, people. It takes two to tangle. It takes two people to be in an abusive relationship. It has to be a reciprocator. No abuser is going to be in a relationship with someone that loves and care and value themselves. It's not going to happen.
Mhm.
Because the first time that person try it, that person is going to be out of here.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
they respect and love and cherish themselves that much that they're not going to tolerate it. So you're kind of molded. You're preyed upon. Like it's like prey predator.
Mm-hmm.
How do you become prey? How do
Mm-hmm.
you become vulnerable
Mm-hmm.
to be a prey to an
Mm-hmm.
abuser?
And
Tap
people wonder
tap in or
why
Dr.
this happens to one person over and over and over again. She's right. You become prey
Mhm.
because when the person sees and tries you, and the trying could be anything depending on how
Yeah,
much they know about you. But once they try you and you stay, it's like, okay,
Mhm.
yeah, next
it
level,
escalates
and you
Yeah, I was
stay
gonna say
next
escalate as far as
level.
behaviors
Yeah,
too.
and you stay next level. Yes, yes.
Mhm.
because if someone can verbally abuse you, they can physically abuse you. If someone can think to verbally hurt you, they can act out of physically hurt you. They
Mhm.
can physically hurt you because everything starts with a thought.
Mhm.
Every action is backed up with a thought.
So how can we recognize if our teens are experiencing unsafe relationships and behaviors and so forth like that?
I,
You
Hmm.
may have said some stuff already, but like,
Mhm.
I'll tell you this: watch their interactions with you.
mhm.
Talk to your team, and they look down on the floor. They hold their head down, or they flinch
Mhm.
Mhm.
when you make sudden moves,
Mhm.
or they don't defend themselves. Just period.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's how you know.
Mhm.
Because
I,
go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, I think the first thing we gotta do is make it a habit of talking to your children, having real conversation with
Health
them.
and health.
To make it a safe space
Make it
to
safe and you're
allow them to
approachable.
talk to you about anything. I mean, and we're not just talking
And
about this, but they about everything, and be open and talk to your kids. And like I said, sometimes by talking to them, you'll know their tells, and you can maybe see something's going on. Because they may be embarrassed to talk about these things, right? Now,
Mhm.
all kids aren't gonna be like, hey, yeah, well, he punched me in my head. No, they may be embarrassed. So you may have to be able to, be open enough to talk to them and kind of dig and talk and make them feel comfortable enough that maybe it'll come out.
You're right. If you
always use
cultivate that kind of relationship from the beginning,
Mhm.
mhm.
Absolutely. You can't start at 12. It
mm,
No,
starts at 3,
always
4, and 5,
It
mm,
starts
right?
at the womb.
mm.
yeah,
Well, yeah, but
always
yeah,
use
yeah, you could talk
and
to your stomach.
yourself as an
They hear you.
always use yourself as an example, and just whenever you have see kids listen. Hear me, parents. Kids listen. They listen to when you're on the phone. They listen to when you're having side conversations with your friends. Your
Ultimate stalkers.
They
They
listen.
are the ultimate
Ultimate
stalkers
Yes,
stalkers.
and psychologists. Like they
My
are
yes.
da-
assess
my
and
my
read a
daughter has
room.
recited quite a few text messages I had. I didn't know she was in the room. Oh, I see what you wrote. When?
And
Where?
tell you, Dad, tell you something, Dad. Let me tell you something. You teach her. You teach her what to accept from a man by how you treat the women in your life.
Oh,
So you
absolutely.
do not expect her to have standards for a man, and here it is, you cussing out your girlfriend, or you cheating on your girlfriend,
Mm-hmm.
or you know what I mean? Like you're dismissing your girlfriend because you're teaching her what to accept, what's allowable and what's acceptable. So you have to treat every woman in your life like a queen. So she know that that is what is
She
expected.
don't know you, Daryl. She just
Yeah,
saying to any other
no, I'm
father
just saying,
too.
like
Every woman?
every
No, I listen. I already know
because
everything I do. I model behaviors that she's going to accept, or things she's going to do. As the man, I'm the model for that because I'm the first person
how
she
you
sees.
treat
So
is a
yeah,
reflection.
so everything I do, I know she's looking at, right? So she watches everything I do, independently of who I'm around or what I'm doing, my mannerisms, how I act, how I respond to things. I know she's watching all of that, and you have to be conscious of that when you have a child. Everything
So
you do, they're getting, they're tabulating, and they're formulating things off of what they see that you do and how you move and how you act.
And
Um,
this is for son and daughter. Like this is
right.
right,
not
This for all kids, right? You want to do
Mhm.
that. Um, And like I said, even for me, like I took it a step further. Like I said, when she was 5, I had her in a sex education class, right? Because I think this is important. I
Yes,
think that's
Shakina,
very
he's real.
important. And it actually works well because even now I see her using some of the strategies and things of that nature that she learned in that class. And also that it gave us a gateway to speak. Now we can talk about different things, and she's very comfortable about telling me. Especially these days, kids have so much access to things. If they got a phone, they got access to everything, right? There's
Yep.
nothing they don't have access to, and you try to put blocks, code, whatever, they're gonna get around all that. So just know they're gonna know more than you think they know. So, but
Yeah.
we can have real conversation right now, and I know that she's is gonna be exposed to a lot of things. So we have real conversations, and she'll come to me now, and I'm having conversations about things that I'm like, wow, you're 8, but but we can have it, she's like, Dad, the little boy told the little girl he's gonna put his balls in her drawers. I said, oh, did he? You stay away from that little boy. but but we have these real conversations at 8. So I'm glad that we built it to the point where she does feel comfortable telling me a lot of things. I know I'm not delusional. She's not gonna tell me everything, but a lot of things she can tell me, and it is open. So, but that started early. I was
Yeah.
starting early, talking to her and making her feel comfortable, and making it a safe space so that we can have that conversation. So as she gets older, hopefully she'll still feel comfortable enough to tell me if something's going on, or if there's
She
trouble,
will.
or even to ask questions.
She will.
So another
From
some
what we see, she got her own little car too. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
I mean, you have to watch their interactions with just their friends. Period. Like if they're really passive,
Mm-hmm.
if they, if they're really impressionable, if they want to be accepted. A lot of abuse comes from wanting to be accepted.
Mhm.
If they want to fit in, you know, so you want to be mindful of that, and you you really have to involve yourself in your relationships and friendships.
Mhm.
Cheryl wants to hop
Yes.
in.
Real fast, I want to say, and what one mistake I see people make a lot, and I don't make it because I know it. When you got to watch even same sex, you have to watch those friendships
Oh
sometimes
yeah,
even more than
Mhm.
other friendships because, like I said, that girl, so you have their girlfriends, so we let them spend the night and things of that nature, and we don't think anything because they're both girls. No, you need to watch those relationships as well, right? You look at
yeah,
every relationship and don't put anything past any relationship. Like I watch her interacting with her girlfriends that are here all the time just as well as it's a boy. So don't think that it's just about the boy and girl.
oh no, no,
it,
no,
it could be girl and girl, and then not that even that they're dating or anything, but that other girl could be very domineering over your child. You have to watch
um,
for that
And then
type
she's
of
always trying
relationship
to
that could,
serve her. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
no,
or trying to
that,
get them to do things and things of that nature. So you need
Yes.
to watch
Yes.
all relationships your child is with. I don't care
yeah,
who they are. And like you said, immerse yourself in your child's life. You should know everything they're doing. I know her friends. They call me on FaceTime. I'm like, why are you calling me? It's weird. They're on like 5 people. Why are you calling me? Hey, Dad, we're doing. But they all feel comfortable enough to talk to me. They all know me, right? So, and I'm around, and that's what I want to be in every aspect of her life. I try to just be there. So I'm a face. And I think being present is a big thing for us as parents as well. Being present is one of the best things you can do to help your children with any of this stuff, right? Because if you're present, they know you. Maybe the friend may feel comfortable enough. Hey, look, something happened with your daughter, and da 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 da. Your friend may be the person to tell you because they're comfortable enough that they know you. So be involved in your children's lives, people. Please.
Mhm.
PSA. I'm done.
That's your PSA.
That's my PSA. I'm done.
and another thing is, you. So as far as same sex, right? I have to make this point. Their numbers are even higher because they
Mm-hmm.
deal with a lot of rejection.
Mm-hmm.
So they find acceptance in each other. So whenever they feel rejected from one another, that's when, the violence, comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you always want, like, you really have to have, you set the foundation of what love is, parents.
Mm-hmm.
You set the foundation.
Mhm.
be mindful of your conversations. Be mindful of the people who are in your lives, because like I said, all of the women in my family have experienced domestic violence.
Mm.
All of my friends have experienced domestic violence. Even for the guys that I've dated, you know, they've experienced it with their mother and father.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
It's really it's cultural. A lot of it has to do with the
Hmm.
our all we had was each other at one point in time. So if you had that man or that woman, you had everything.
Mhm.
So when that is threatened, you feel helpless. And the ultimate game,
Tina, do you have an ice machine?
no, that's not me.
Okay, go ahead.
I hear it.
Okay,
Mm.
go ahead. I just was wondering.
No,
Ice machine.
I'll be
I
like,
was like,
yeah, give me
okay,
a
Is
cup
that
of
what?
what
ice.
that sound
Give me a
like?
cup of ice.
That's what it sounded like, was an ice machine.
I don't hear it in my background. I hear it in someone else's background.
It's
That's what they
probably
all
Daryl
say.
playing with his keyboard.
That's what they all say. I didn't play with anything. I'm just sitting here. Okay. I mean, I can start playing with things. I ain't playing with nothing.
No. Come back.
Yes, please.
What? I'm sorry. Where did I leave off at?
I'm not sure. But again, so with this teen,
Yeah.
so let's
You
let's
was
get to some numbers. Let's get to
yeah.
some numbers as far as because I know it's happening at a high rate these
Mhm.
days, right?
Even
So what
during
are the
the pandemic.
Oh
well,
yeah.
I think numbers went up during the pandemic, even more so up, right?
Absolutely.
So here's the thing too. You never so when I started dating and I became sexually active and everything, moms, listen to me, dads, do not put that, oh, you if you laying down with them, then they should be taking care of you, that type thing.
That's terrible, right?
Yeah. If you giving them this and that, whatever, they should be doing this, that, and that. Because
Mm.
we have this thing, if we're buying someone something or we're financially supporting somebody, we have rights to them.
That sounds like a different conversation when people go on a date and if they spend X amount
And
of
that's
dollars that
what
they should be getting
yeah,
some goods at the end of the date.
yeah.
They're not. They're not.
If this individual is being financially supported, if you're allowing, maybe because you might be having a hard time financially yourself, and you're allowing this person to
Mhm.
financially support your
Mhm. Mhm.
that opens the door,
Mhm.
for dominance.
Mhm.
Right. It's a
and
form of control.
and yep. So hey, like you got to say this. You really have to take um you have to take precedence over your children,
Mhm. Mhm.
um especially in the African American community, because we was moving out at 16, 17.
Mhm.
Moving into the boyfriend house with the mom.
And the mom was okay with it.
Yeah, and and
I never understood
and the
that.
I
moms
didn't
have
either because I
I
wasn't
never
allowed
Well,
to
I
do
understood
that.
that.
so, but
Right.
let's just think about it. I get the. I mean, because they're like, well, where are they going to go? I'd rather have them here than in the street, right? So it's kind of
that
like
point.
you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, right?
No,
If I
you
don't,
make that child stay at her own house.
but
And
are
be
they made it?
accountable
I
and
get it.
responsible in
So
this
so
house.
well, I get it, but I'm not going to shame the people who feel like this is the way they're protecting their children. I get it. It may
Mm.
not to be the best way, but they're like, you know what? I'd rather have him here than in the street, right? If
Mhm.
he decides to leave, what I'm gonna do if my
Monica,
son or daughter try? I'm
Monica,
sorry.
don't leave them upstairs in the room all day, or in the basement. You barely going down there. You don't know what the heck. He could have her.
Yeah. I don't know what kind of. Well, I don't know about he could have her because she's doing the same thing. It takes two to tango. But my thing would be, I don't know what parent doesn't understand. Like they weren't young before, so any space and opportunity is going to be taken and given. You
Well, this
go to the microwave for 2 minutes. I know I got 2 minutes. Like we're going to use that
well
to our
no, but
full advantage.
after this,
Mm.
after the fact, this is when like when they're already sexually active and all of that stuff. This is after the fact, not
Well,
before.
we don't know that. Sometimes you may not know when they become sexually active, right? Every kid is not going to tell
No,
you, but
no,
I'm going to assume you're going to do something if you're alone. That's just me. My assumptions are crazy. I'm
well,
assume.
no. It's known that your teen is sexually active and you're accepting of this relationship. So you're allowing them independence, like codependent independence.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm.
But you're quote unquote watching them, but you're really not. You know,
Well, again,
I
yeah, I
was.
get it.
Let
And
me
then your
tell you,
whole life is wrapped around serving and being connected
I
to
was I was a house. I call myself a housewife living in my mother's house
Mm.
because even though I lived in my under my mother's roof, this person was financially supporting me. He per se, with
Mm.
whatever money my mother may have needed or whatever, like he gave, or we had a child together. So I was playing house in mommy's house, and that's what goes on in a lot of houses.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Tell the
It's
truth,
where
came the devil.
right.
Mm-hmm.
It
I
does
seen that
happen.
a lot in the era of the the drug dealing. Saw that a
Right.
lot
Because he was, especially if somebody's
because he
bringing
was
money to
bringing
the
in
house.
money.
Yeah,
He
he's
was
bringing money to the house.
giving the mom money.
Right. So he's
Mhm.
paying for this room and the daughter.
Mhm.
And she's
Mhm.
like, okay, girl, go get him something to eat.
Mhm.
He's out in that corner working all night.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm, mm, mm.
Definitely.
Wow. Now that I listen here, that'll ruffle a lot of people's feathers here now.
Absolutely. But it's the facts and the truth. I
So
mean,
yeah,
a
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
parents, and for lack of a better word, pimp their children out so that they can pay their bills. They do it on mental
What-
health by getting a
Eh,
disability check. They do it by allowing the drug dealer to be. I don't know. The drug dealers are still
I'm
doing this ethics now, but that they get money back and back for whatever they do. Sexual favors with human trafficking. Like it's a whole lot of ways that people are severing up their children.
no,
Look
but
at the
Right,
TV show.
R. Kelly situation.
Yeah,
right,
but look at the sitcoms though. Look at the sitcoms. How many sitcoms were there where the mom and dad, and then you had uh the,
Uncle Charlie.
the daughter and the boyfriend or the husband. You got what, Roseanne. Um,
Mm.
got older. Becky, her boyfriend moved in. It was they. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? So
Mhm.
ain't nobody moving the Cosby house, did they?
They didn't.
no,
Nope. They
no,
wasn't having that. Those parents wasn't having that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I said
but it
those
was a
parents.
different. It was a different economic.
Status. So okay,
Yes.
I say doctor.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Then
Mhm.
Roseanne and the other show you said.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
So, but that's not to say that different socioeconomic statuses don't still experience teen
Yeah.
dating violence.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Right,
I mean,
right,
look
right,
at
right.
the Kardashian family. How
Right.
many how often do you hear how big of a pimp that mom is? And they got money.
Mhm. Because
Because
there's a self-esteem, self-gratification
Mhm.
that is serving a violence towards others
Mhm.
or harming other people or putting people in danger for their gratification or financial gain.
Mhm. Mhm.
Shakina thinking. She's like,
I know, I see her.
She's like, I don't know how I'm gonna jump in this rope now. Like what?
I mean, it's just it's really unfortunate. I had to almost lose my life to unlearn those behaviors. Actually, so we set the example, um, guys. We set the example, and because I already had a void, I already was dealing with trauma. That was the gateway. It opened the door for everything else. And
Mhm.
I was also I was also sexually assaulted.
Mm.
So I was attracted to that toxic energy,
Mm-hmm.
that destructive, abusive energy, that controlling energy. I needed it to feel loved. I needed it to feel protected. I mean, if you was not controlling me,
They weren't sexy no more.
I remember I was in Allentown. Me and my friends were up there, and there's a group of girls, and I remember they were talking, and we were shocked at the conversation. They were talking about how many times they were choked out by their boyfriends, but they were like, "Yo, you know he loves you, girl, and he choked me out." Like, "Oh, he did," and they had it was a normal conversation. We were mortified, like, "Wait, what? You got choked out and he left you naked on," and they were like, "This is normal. This is what it should. He cares about me. He loves me." And I was like, "Whoa, this is not okay." But it was so interesting to see how they talked about it, and it was just normal.
And that's how it. And that's how it go. Oh, so and so pulled the gun out on me.
Right.
Girl, he
and
oh, so and so tried to cut me. This be crazy.
Or they try to cut them back, and I pull my gun out too. Like it. But it's so toxic. They don't understand what they're saying. It's so crazy. Like,
right.
Did you hear what you just said? He pulled a gun on you, and you ain't got your gun. Where does that end?
When someone is dead.
Right.
So it's really crazy, and it's really an epidemic right now. That's what it really is. It's really an epidemic, and we don't talk about it enough. And kids don't talk about it enough
But they're desensitized with the games and the TV shows and everything. I mean, Grand Theft Auto is teaching you how to beat up a woman and rob the store.
Right.
So you playing that for your detox situation. Oh, that's how a relationship's supposed to be. I'm sorry, Daryl. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's a great.
Do you think that is
every? Go ahead, Doc.
Do you think that is less in the media? Do you think that is less in the media now? Because I think back of like the old TV shows with like the honeymooners, bang zoom, I'm gonna punch her in the face, or
Right.
What about Roses, Guns and Roses? They was going at it, swinging from the chandeliers, okay?
But you also have dynamics from Married with Children, like the way they talk to each other was dismissive.
He was
Married with Children. Al was the man. What you talking about? I don't remember him doing nothing wrong.
The language that he used, the words that it was a toxic relationship. It was a power dynamic.
She controlled him.
Like
she controlled him. What are we talking about here?
He did not control him.
She controlled Al. Al had no say. She did what she wanted. He had to give her all his money. I guess we watched a different Bundy. Al was
I didn't necessarily say that Al was the abuser. I said the show Married with Children was an abusive show. I didn't.
It was.
Al character.
Al was an abused man. I can't believe it.
Al checked out of that marriage a long
time ago.
So I think that was abusive because if he was so unhappy, he should.
He should have left.
Wait a minute, time out. How could he leave? Because she had all his money. She controlled the relationship.
All he did was go to the shoe store.
Al needed somebody for help. He was calling for help.
He needed the numbers.
He needed a lifeline. He was secretly crying for help. Help.
No.
She controlled the sex life. She controlled the sex life. She was just doing too much.
Oh,
that's why he only had 1 minute. He only had 1 minute for her. He only had 1 minute for her, but that's all he got because she controlled it.
Al could have got himself off that couch, got dressed, and said, "Come on, Peg, we going out to dinner. Like, let's have a night." Like, he didn't care.
I'm pretty sure she stayed home all day, didn't do anything.
He cleaned the house. It was a passive aggressive reciprocity going on. They both weren't happy.
She was taking all the money. He didn't have anything. She was buying stuff. Come on, she was sitting.
And he was not
chilling all day with Marcy.
He didn't give her no attention though. He didn't give her no attention. He
What
didn't
you
give her
mean?
no affection.
Soon as she came in the door, she was on him. Ow! What do you mean?
No, she would come and sit.
I worked all day.
No,
I need a minute to myself while you were home.
Listen, she would sit on his lap and be like, "Hey, Al," rub him and stuff, and he just be like, "What do you want, pet?" Like he ain't kiss her, be like, "Hey, baby." Like,
because she always wanted something. That "Hey, Al" was because she wanted something. I don't understand
you're
how
biased.
people. No. I know women. This is women again. We're back to women being women. I knew it was gonna come. I knew it was gonna happen.
You are being biased.
Not at all. Peg was manipulative. She was all about herself, and she controlled the whole relationship.
How about this, Daryl? You ready for this?
Okay, I'm ready.
Can't nobody do nothing to you that you don't allow and accept.
But you learn that behavior.
But sometimes you don't know any better. So you accept because you think that this is the way it is. So until we get educated or we get help to get out of that situation, we don't even think it's wrong. Like I said, we talked about last week. Look at Tina Turner. Look at all these famous women who were in these relationships. They were in control. They made the money, but they were allowing these things to happen because they thought
that it was right. But
they thought it was right.
But Tina started loving herself.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Once she woke up, she was able to get away from it. Everybody doesn't have that, right? Because they may not have enough strength in herself. They may not. Remember, Tina had to meet somebody else who said, "Listen, you need to do this for yourself. You need to." She found someone that gave her to help her find herself.
And you remember how her mother was, right?
Mm-hmm. Her mother would take her right back to him every time she got away.
Hey, girl, where you going?
Take her right back to him.
Right. But
that's your husband.
Take another food. Well, yeah, they are husband.
That's your husband.
Right by you.
So, but again, she found someone to help her to find her voice, and that's powerful, right? Sometimes we can't do it alone. We need somebody to show that we can stand up, and so this is why it's important. So people need to learn. You need to, like a show like this is great. Someone may hear something and be like, "Yo, this is my situation. I don't want to do this anymore." Now we need to say, help them. What do they do now that they got that? They're at that place where I want change. I don't know how to change. I don't know where to go. Who do I talk to?
Let me tell you, where you start first. You got to stop having sex with that person.
Say what?
Okay.
What?
I need that.
Close your legs.
So you're trying to start more problems.
Stop sticking them. Stop opening your legs. Stop sticking them.
That might not be the answer.
But
wait, you gotta start. When you start there,
sensitive. We gotta be gender.
Well, I'm saying both.
She said both.
Okay, I didn't hear it.
I said close your legs and stop sticking them.
Okay.
Both you gotta. That's where it starts.
I got you.
As long as you continue to interact with them in that way, you will never be able to leave, because that's the number one thing that's keeping you two connected. Because let me tell you something, the bigger the fights, the greater the sex.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree.
It was for me. I'm speaking for me.
Okay, speaking for you. So let's speak for everybody. Most times what's keeping you there is usually
he says you lost and stop having sex.
Right. Because I think a lot of times because
he's consistent.
What's the number one thing to keep a toxic relationship connected is the bomb sex.
Nah, it's control. It's control. Usually you stay because
and
you feel like you can't go.
Sex,
right?
People use sex for control.
Sex is it can be used, but I think sometimes it's money, it's housing, it's the child. It's a lot of things that can be used to control that situation.
So listen,
I don't think sex is going to always be the
but once the sex stops, right? You're able to focus on other things like the housing, becoming financially empowered. Listen, having sex can dilute reality. It can create a false sense of reality. It can create a fantasy, take you on a wild ride.
It can, but I think a lot of these situations we're describing, the sex might not even be great for one person.
Well,
it may be very selfish. It may be, and you may be doing it as a chore at this point. So I don't think that's keeping you if you're doing it as a chore.
That's definitely a fact. But what I'm saying is, as long as you are doing that with this person, if they're not forcing you or what have you, that gives you power. When you, like, whether you like it or not, whenever you decide to sleep with someone, you are relinquishing a source of power. So the exit plan, I would say, you have to get along with yourself. And if with people that love you, or people that can support you and direct you to the right resources. You cannot do it connected to this person. It will not happen with you staying connected, staying in the same environment or close proximity with this person. You have to stop all ties, cut all ties.
And I think
Texting.
what you said was important is that you need support.
Yeah.
It's difficult to do it alone. The first thing when you get to that contemplation stage, like, yo, this is not for me. What do I need? You need a support.
You do.
And the support, it should be able to help you to, when you leave that situation, to be there. Because if you leave and you're by yourself, all that's going to happen is going to go back, right? If you don't have anything really set up. So you're going to need that support to help you and say, listen, you don't have to go back. We got you.
So, and let me say this, a person that loves you will never do anything to hurt you. They will never do. Love does not hurt. It's not selfish. No.
I don't agree.
Love.
You mean physical hurt or emotional hurt?
Emotional, physical. Love does not hurt. It does not abuse. It does not abandon. It does not take. It does not hate. Love is love. Love is never. So we have the idea, love is so love, it hurts so much. No, love is never supposed to hurt. And that's what we need to unlearn. It is never supposed to hurt you in no type of way. Love is giving. Love is freedom.
Could be.
Love is life.
You have to define what love looks like for them, because
right.
love is an arbitrary word, just like anger is an arbitrary word, just like frustration is an arbitrary word.
So
if you have a certain moral compass that guides you, then that usually influences how you respond to defining words like love. But that can really look very different based on what is your guiding principles of how you live your life every day.
Because you have to remember, in those abusive relationships, when the whoever's the batterer, sometimes they love you. And you feel I'm saying they say that they feel that even though through it, right? So like you said, he doesn't love you if he's not beating on you, girl. If he's not doing that, he ain't acting all crazy. So that's that perverted love. So we have to use that word love kind of loosely, contingent upon what's positive and negative.
So what I'm saying, so love does not physically abuse you. It does not verbally abuse you.
Yes.
It does not.
I agree to that.
Right. It does not isolate you. Love does not control you. Love does not take from you. Love does not abandon you. Learn love first. Learn the conditions of love before you try to imitate what it is or project what it is. Learn what love is first.
Okay. So we've talked about what teen dating violence is. We've given some very descriptive examples on what it looks like, how early it can start, what can be some vicarious, like sideline situations that kind of draw it in as well. We're recently talking about like the exit planning and like kind of what that looks like. We even talked about some old school TV shows and it had like toxic messaging that kind of shape the continual community conversation around the values and mindset that people have. We kind of need to wrap up because this is a deep conversation, and it's an important conversation. I thank everybody, for, kind of getting to this point where we are. But I would want to, I guess, like highlight some of the services that you do.
Mm-hmm.
You also have a walk. I don't know if you're doing that walk again, but it was police escorted. It was teenagers with music. Like it was very, very instrumental from the statue, the Rocky statue, all the way down to City Hall. Um, that was a powerful moment. What does She Is You do to ensure that individuals experiencing this don't have to suffer in silence?
So what we do is we provide a supportive community. So we provide therapy group sessions, peer mentoring.
Mhm.
We provide self-esteem building workshops. So we're very young. So we're almost 2 years old. So our funding is still low. So like a lot of our programs are limited. But we do provide sexual education support, because abuse can come in the form of you know sex,
Mm-hmm.
constantly giving you STDs. That's a form of abuse, and that's a form of self hate, because your life is being threatened, uh, holistic wise. I mean, well, yeah. So we are having a march, April 30th, guys. Save the date. We'll be marching from the art museum again through the Ben Franklin Parkway to City Hall. There will be a host of resources, partnering organizations, and presenters on how you can get the courage to love yourself, love
What's the date
others.
again?
April
April
30th.
30th.
Okay. April 30th.
Right. So we're going to be sending out a link for presenters and vendors to register, to come out and be a part, and spread awareness and provide resources. So you
Nice.
can follow us on Facebook, She Is You Inc. That's SHEISU, the letter U. Instagram, She Is You Inc. underscore, and LinkedIn. Please follow us. Stay updated on our events and programs. We offer, a safe space for people to tell their story. For people to listen to them, and there's so much power in just listening to someone's story. Um, yeah,
Like, yeah. Um, so do you accept donations and everything like that as well, correct?
we do. We are a 501c3. So you can donate via Cash App, She Is You, $ She Is You, or PayPal me, She Is You. And yeah, those are the two forms of payment. Or you can mail in a check. Our home office is 1500 Walnut Street, Suite 800,
Mm.
Philadelphia, PA 19102. Again, 1500 Walnut Street, Suite 800, Philadelphia, PA 19102. And Google us, She Is You Inc.
Okay. So in closing remarks, what would you want someone who has listened to this conversation to take away? And that's for everybody. Actually, we're gonna start with Daryl, Doc, and then close out with you, Shakina.
Just take away, be in your children's lives. Um, Try to educate yourself on things of the day, things the kids are going through today. Try to stay current and relevant, because if you don't know what's going on, then it's really difficult to help your child through whatever they're going through. Educate yourself on uh, things like this. If you don't know kids are dealing with this, you might look past it. So you need to just try to educate yourself on things that could affect your child. It's always better be prepared than late.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Doc.
What Daryl said. And I mean, that's important, but
Mhm,
also, listen to your
mhm,
kids. Even listen to the things they're not saying too.
Pay attention to their
Like
behavior.
Shakina pointed out, body language and how they interact with other people and how, especially authority figures or
Mm-hmm.
quote unquote authority figures.
Mm-hmm.
Watch them with their friends. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying, listen all the way around.
Mm-hmm.
Listen as what the Captain Noah used to say. Listen with your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
pay attention to your kids and listen and be really ingrained in their lives. I know some people, don't want to be invasive or intrusive, but you should know your kids' friends. And if
Mm-hmm.
they have a so-called boyfriend or girlfriend, you should know that person and their family.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All about them.
All about them.
All about them. I just want to say, I guess everything that everybody else said. I'm gonna follow Doc's lead, and then the two things we didn't get to is the protection order from abuse, which is often
Mhm.
referred to in the acronym of PFA,
Mhm.
and then role play. When you want to know the signs or you want to equip, you're not going to always be with your team. So you
Mhm.
need to do a role play where you guys are kind of practicing what they would say, what they would do. And if they were to call you, to have a code word that doesn't give
Mhm.
up that they giving you the code word, but you have practiced this over and over again, that they make this phone call and they're going to say a couple things and it automatically puts you into action plan, but you all have created what those next steps will actually be. Daryl.
And
Mhm.
don't limit that to just phone calls. To my daughter, we have text message code word as well, right? So it should be
Right.
any form of contact you have with your kids. You should have some type of code word that they can send that's very ambiguous and no one really even know that they're signaling for help. So the person
Mm-hmm.
doesn't know, but then you can go into action.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And what Ruth said, include your village. Because if they can't reach you, they need to be able to reach somebody else. If they
Mhm.
are have access to post on their social media, have people know what those codes are so that they can get in contact with you. Because in all of these situations, you don't know what they have access to and when their phone may not be accessible to them.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
pay attention to that. Of course, the phone has resources of location sharing. Oh my God, I really wanted to get into that because of our teens being on social media, how people end up stalking them because they
Mhm.
tell so much. So I guess we have to have
Mhm.
another conversation about that another
Yeah.
day. Um, so I will close it with that. Like, just knowing. Oh, and then when you use a PFA, if you have one, yes, a lot of people will say it's just a piece of paper. However, if you should need to have one and activate it, when you call 911, start with, I have a PFA, and then whatever the incident is, because it
Mhm.
elevates your priority on the phone call list versus you trying to tell them the situation and then saying, I have a PFA. They now
Mhm.
know that you're already involved in the court system and they need to get to you as soon as possible.
Mhm.
Shakina giving that look though. I don't know. She might not co-sign.
No, I mean, also like a restraining order. So it's a difference, and I think
Mm-hmm.
Purple House Project, they kind of had like a virtual workshop and the difference between a PFA
Correct.
restraining order.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah. So but what I would like for you guys to take away um from this discussion is that your children do not do as you say, they do as you do.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
you have to be mindful of their enforcers, their environment. You want to be positive around them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and just pay attention to your conversations, their conversations, and their interactions with other people.
Mhm.
And it starts with you. It starts with you. You set the tone on what's acceptable in a relationship.
Mhm.
You set the standard, you know,
Mm-hmm.
by example, and love them, in every way, no matter how different they are, whether they're in the same relationship or whatever. Love them, and just be honest and very transparent, and be a confidant to them.
Mhm.
If they share something with you, don't share it with auntie, uncle, or be their confidant,
Mhm.
and always tell them that they have the power and control over their life.
Mhm.
They have the power. They have the power to move and talk and do what it is that is best for them. Always put themselves first. Do
Mhm.
not teach your children that putting themselves first is selfish.
Mm.
It's
Mhm.
not.
Mhm.
And that's it. That's all I
And
have.
that's it.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you for
done
having me.
speaking.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Hugs and love
Thank
always.
you.
Thank you
Yes.
for
Thank
the time. Again, thank you for all the information
you.
and getting Daryl to be like, okay, what now? Say what now? Daryl, we appreciate you always.
It was a
um,
pleasure. I mean, we have to do this again. This
absolutely.
is I think this was very informative, very impactful, very necessary.
Mhm.
Our community needs this. Um, and I think it was very open, very raw, very organic, like you
Mm-hmm.
wanted, and people respond to organic. I'm grateful that you allowed me to really be authentic and open. Thank you.
You know how we rock out.
Is that you
That
there?
is Daryl and his keyboard. So thanks again for joining us for another delicate, spicy, and informative conversation. As you may or may not know, March is Women's History Month. And so we are coming to you next week with a lovely start of Women's History Month. I don't know. I got to confirm with Doc if we're going to still do our conversation. So I can't plant no seeds. But I just know somewhere around the conversation, we're going to be
Mm.
talking about all things women's history. So until then, stay safe, stay well, and we'll catch you on the other side.
Good night.